Hi, welcome out to the Unscheduled podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and along with me today we have the man, the myth, the one who consumes mangoes, Javi.
Yes, that is me. I am the manga consumer, as Zach has just described, and it's glad to be back in the co-host position today.
Yeah, I mean, last episode you took over the main host position, which was a nice change of pace, to be honest.
No, yeah, it's really nice to be in that chair. Honestly, the same one I've been sitting in, this entire series. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's really interesting because I was looking at some other podcasts and they like once you can actually see the like hosts and stuff like the video podcast, no, not so much just the audio ones.
hmm
They actually do have chairs that change and like the designated host and then those who are just
no,
tagging
yeah,
along for the ride.
yeah, same. I see that all the time as well.
And I mean, I would love to get to that level one day, but humble beginnings first. Humble beginnings.
Yeah, we definitely aren't, renting out studios for this stuff or anything like
God, no.
that.
I wish though.
Yeah,
I really wish one day. That would be a lifelong dream.
absolutely.
But anyway, actually speaking of stuff like that, so I had thought of an interesting topic today. I was going through things. So, as I'm a huge G1 who's a fan of like old Screw Attack, Game Attack, stuff like that. What the community is known as.
Yeah.
And this past week, at the time of this recording, anyway, like a week ago, Craig Skitzimus, who was the one of the co-founders of Screw Attack and then one of the co-founders of Game Attack, has actually left Game Attack, and it's it came as a huge surprise to the community because we had always saw him as like the staple and like like the godfather of each and every community he created. But what really so going off that real quick, he says he's now doing his own solo project. He's doing his own podcast. That's he's because he's been in the I would say the internet industry for 15, 16 years now, maybe a little bit more.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been in the game for a while. And he says his entire podcast is going to be based around him interviewing people he's met throughout his career. Like there are some big channels and media names that he's helped to get started.
Yeah.
So his first episode he did just this week's past was he had a sit down with the angry video game nerd.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like not I don't know how many people know this, but Angry Video Game Nerd really got his start with Screw Attack back in the day. Like he had already had his established like base, but then he joined with Screw Attack and then even grew even bigger there.
Yeah, no, yeah, I didn't even know that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and this is like he joined them back before he was Angry Video Game Nerd. Back then he was the Nintendo nerd.
hmm
But anyway, I digress. Um what really got me thinking about that was like I was like, wow, Craig left Game Attack, something he started once again. Like he restarted 3 years ago. And then now he's restarting once again. So for me, that was really interesting. And for that, I was looking at things. I'm like, wow, the internet in terms of content creators and content creation has really changed. Not only within the last year, but has been changing. Like it's way different from when you and I first started looking at the internet and YouTube and stuff to how it is
Yeah.
today.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say for me, I started, really getting into like really being engaged in like the internet culture around I was like maybe say in middle school.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like when I was in elementary school, I knew how to use a computer and stuff like that. I loved using a computer, but I was only going online to like play flash games and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's I would 100% agree. I would say I was actually almost in a weird way. I would say I was like quote unquote a late bloomer for the
Mm.
internet because I really didn't even experience much of the internet until like late middle school, definitely early high school for me.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then like I would say middle school is when I really started getting interested in like following content creators or
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
would call content creators now. I remember when I was in middle school, the thing that was super huge and they're still around, but it's not the same. It's like Smosh.
Yeah,
Smosh when I
yeah.
was in when we were like we were because we're at the same age. When we were in middle school, Smosh was like the thing. And Smosh was definitely, in my opinion, one of those like channels that really took on like this meaning of being like an influencer and having this community surrounding their content in that sort of way because they had so much pull and so much influence over pretty much everything people did on YouTube, in my opinion. Like, and I think they were really one of the forerunners in that area.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So I would definitely agree with you on that. There are definitely, in my opinion, kings of the internet, or at least
Yeah.
they once were. Definitely not, maybe not kings, but like the godfathers of the internet.
Yeah.
And their channels still exist around today. But that kind of brings me to the point I wanted to talk about. So I was looking at this, and like there have been quite a few content creators that have left platforms I've checked out.
Mm.
So one of the biggest names as of recent was Bruce Green. He was part of Funhouse and Inside Gaming, and
Mm.
then he left them to go full time, become a full time streamer, which I respect. It's like if you feel like you want to do that and kind of be your own boss there,
Yeah.
go for it. And like so, but that like really surprised me that he did that. And then because he was quite popular, and he had his like popular following and stuff. So like to go full time streaming from that was a surprise and an amazement to me. And that's just one of the many things that have changed on the landscape. It's like these once established teams you now see are having like these amicable separations into like
Yeah.
people going off and doing their own solo thing. So
Mm.
I don't know. It's like that was a big surprise to me then. And okay, I'm going. Let me rewind real quick. I'm a huge Rooster Teeth fan. Like I love all of Rooster Teeth and all of its subsequent branches. For as much hate as they seem to get on the internet nowadays, I don't really get it because a lot of it is unfounded. But we're not
Mm.
here to talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would argue that they are one of the original, or like one of the godfathers of the internet, and or the current internet YouTube landscape,
Hmm.
because like
Yeah.
they started like in what 2003 2004 before even YouTube existed with their own series. Then
Yeah.
they kept getting bigger and bigger and just kept adapting to the internet changes.
No, yeah, like I knew Rooster Teeth existed before YouTube, but it
Yeah,
surprised me how big they were because it wasn't until like I watched those videos where they show like the inside of their offices that I realized, oh, this is a company.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
it's not just like, a group of friends like meeting up at like their house or anything like that, which they do sometimes,
right,
obviously.
right, yeah, yeah,
But it's a full-on, organization, really. They have
yeah,
like literal like rooms and buildings dedicated to capturing certain type of content, and I think
yeah.
that's absolutely crazy.
No, it's amazing to me because they have two branches. They have, well, okay, they have two bases of operation essentially.
Hmm.
They have they have their main base, which is what I call it, because their actual studio is on an old military base. It
Mm.
used to be a airplane hangar, and then the city converted it into a thing for like artists and stuff. So they
Hmm.
picked up that space. But anyway, so their main base is in Austin, Texas. But then they even have more out in Los Angeles too, with some of their own stuff out there. But it's like when I looked at it, I'm like, they have such a huge channel and spread across the internet. So just to name a few off the top of my head that I know are fully under them. So you have Rooster Teeth Core. You have Achievement Hunter, which was like the first break off branch.
Yeah, I
You
remember that.
have Funhouse. You have Death Battle, who used to be Screw Attack. Like going back to Screw Attack real quick.
Hmm.
Screw Attack became part of RT, and then they turned into Death Battle because that's kind of what their focus became.
Yeah.
Then there's also Funhouse, RT Animation, the who now has their own channel and branch. And then they've partnered with so many other channels too that are kind of like now under the Rooster Teeth channel and stuff. Like they're not owned by Rooster Teeth or anything, but they're now like considered like friends and family. And one of the biggest names actually that used to be part of them was Kinda Funny, who are still partnered with them, I believe. And like not they're not like under them, but they're definitely partnered with them. And like a lot of people will know Kind of Funny. I don't know if you know. Why am I forgetting his name right now? Greg Miller.
Mm,
He was part of Rooster Teeth, or like Kind of Funny was part of that, and they kind of just had like their own. They're now, I guess, partners more than branches. And
yeah.
there was there was Cow Chop, Sugar Pine 7, all those guys. Like they used to be part of it. So it's like they really ushered in a huge age of stuff. And then like Achievement Hunter now has two channels under them. They have the main Achievement Hunter channel, and then there's also the Let's Play channel. So you'd have to more experience those channels, but that's enough about talking about RT. The reason I brought that up is because one of their many co-founders recently, quote unquote, retired from the company.
Mm,
And it's a little weird to say retire because he's sort of still involved with the company. Like it's a very minimalist thing. Like
mm-hmm.
he's like left the company, but part of it he still has some production in, to what I understand. I was checking out his Twitter the other day, but his name is Bernie Burns. He's like,
Oh,
yeah, he left Rooster Teeth and like he's now pursuing his own projects again. So
that's yeah, that's so interesting to me because I remember it was probably a long time ago because I haven't been an active subscriber of Rooster Teeth in a long time.
yeah,
But
yeah, which is understandable.
but I remember he used to have more of like a leadership role before he
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
handed that off to someone else because he still wanted to make content and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So he used to be the CEO,
Yeah.
then he became the COO, and then he stepped back from that about a year, maybe 2 years ago now. And
Hmm.
then, but he was still appearing in a lot of content. Now
Yeah.
he's kind of like left the company. He says he may be back one day, but right now he's pursuing his own personal thing.
Yeah.
It looks like he's gonna be making his own like independent films. He's gonna be working on some other projects, and then him and his new wife and kid are starting their own thing separately now. So it's like,
Oh wow.
yeah, and they haven't separated and starting their own businesses. They're together and starting their own businesses.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of what I've been following. But back to my point of like the internet landscape changing. You have these veterans who have been in the game for longer than we even have known the internet has existed, essentially,
Yeah.
and they're now leaving like these very big, very promising companies. And to me, that's wild because like you would think that like in a way they almost essentially have it made for the rest of their life, but now they're just kind of leaving all of that behind.
Yeah.
So for me, it's wild in that concept.
No, yeah, because especially when consider Rooster Teeth, they have a very dedicated and sort of, I would say like very how would you say like sustainable sort of fan base, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
Like they know who their fan base is and it's like this is gonna sound like kind of like manipulative, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't mean it that way, but like they know what their audience wants and they're willing to
Right,
give it to
right.
them in a way. So it is interesting for me to hear so many people, especially like, Bernie Burns, like
Yeah,
leaving what is essentially what you could argue is one of the most successful, examples of a purely, new age sort of entertainment like
yeah.
enterprise. It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, and it's like to me, it's I remember when Forbes did a story on them 2 3 years ago, and they walked you through. I'm assuming that's the video you saw that you were talking about, where
Hmm.
it was so many studios and branches under them. And looking into that, it amazed me. Like it amazed me that they actually were just able to do all of that, and you know, the fact that he's leaving that all behind for his own personal projects. I mean, complete respect to the guy,
No,
but
yeah.
like that's just showing you like the internet. Some people just don't want to be in the internet game anymore. They want to do their own thing.
No, yeah. Plus, like to go back onto like you mentioned Craig Skitsmith. He's
Yeah,
restarted a lot. Um, that must be such a sort of weird feeling to constantly be in the process of restarting and looking to make new things. I mean, like I respect it. Like I definitely understand what like
yeah,
that process like, but that is so interesting to me to think that people are so willing to leave those things behind just to create something new or what they feel they're actually passionate about.
yeah. And I mean, it's like that's incredible to me. And like the fact that they feel that they have that solid enough ground and footing to do it
Mm-hmm.
is wild to me. And then speaking of internet like changes, I was thinking about this because like I've been essentially going back through internet history at this point in a weird way, just looking about like what I've seen, what I haven't seen, and like
Mm-hmm.
channels. Like I'm very much a gaming community person.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe a little bit also with the anime community online and a little bit like cosplay stuff like that. But I'm not hardcore into that. Gaming I am a lot more into.
Yeah.
But my point being was so did you see what MatPat did the other day? And I talked about this on stream the other day, and because like we were kind of reacting live to it, not really. It was just kind of like we were talking about it in real time, but I was doing my own stream for something else.
Yes, the Food Theorist channel. Yeah.
Yeah, which is something he said he's wanted to do for a while now. So I'm like, I get good on him. I probably won't check it out to be honest. Like I have no interest in it, but
Yeah.
good for him.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of piqued my curiosity more than anything because of the fact that like it just seems so bizarre to me. Because
Yeah,
when you look at it, it's he's not because like I looked at the channel, he's
yeah,
not looking at like food and video games, which is what he's known for, video games, like video game theories.
yeah. He,
Like,
he's known a lot right now for like pop culture theory.
yeah. So, but what he's really looking at is like, oh, do you actually get like what's the probability of you getting like 10 like actually getting 10 McNuggets in like a 10 McNugget box or something like that.
Yeah,
And I just think like the concept is interesting, debunking or like looking at fears about food and stuff like that. But
yeah,
at the
yeah,
same
yeah.
time, it's like it's a huge departure from what he's known for. But like you said, I mean, if it's something he's wanted to do for a long time, all the credit to him. He has that platform,
Yeah,
you know.
I will
But
definitely say, and we talked about this on the live stream. Uh, Arguably, MatPat is in the YouTube 1%.
no, yeah.
Like as someone put it in the chat, I forget who had, but
I think
uh,
that was Dan.
yeah, it might have been. Arguably, he is like YouTube 1%. And I mean, I guess you could make the argument he's not part of that, but I mean, from my perspective, he's definitely like had it made with YouTube because he's had what sponsorships with like YouTube as a company. He's been a spokesperson, he's been a representative, and he's also he was the face of Stadia when it was first being announced as a
Yeah.
content creator. Which I have my own gripes with, but we're not here to knock on Matt Pat. We're just here to more talk about what we've seen.
Yeah.
um it was just to me like that at that point to me it's like yeah you definitely haven't made as a content creator.
No, yeah, like when Google asks you to like, basically like pitch a new product, that's when you kind of know like you've got
Yeah,
it made, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like but anyway, like the fact that like we were saying he was stepping away from gaming but he has that resource to do it was
Mm-hmm.
it's really big in that way. And the fact that like he's still working, he's now working three channels,
Yeah.
which you don't really see a lot, not from unless it's a multi-person team. And he has his wife who helps him out with well no, he's technically running four channels now that I think about it. Because he has Game Theory Live, which is a spin-off of Game Theory, Film Theory, and then now he has Food Theory.
Oh wow.
So yeah, his wife helps him out a lot with Game Theory Live, like they do those together. She also helps him do some research for some of his theories, and but I mean like, and he has a son too, like a very young son,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing all of that right now. So to me, it's like it's amazing that he's able to do that kind of change and adaptation all within like what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then like I'm not saying he's doing it all solo because he does have a team, but it's not like the biggest team ever. But he does have, I would say, arguably he has YouTube money.
Yeah.
Arguably.
Yeah. No, definitely actually. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you also what we've seen in the last but following this up on like other internet changes, the content creation game is no longer the same as it once was. Like if you look at it 5 years ago, let's just not even go like very far. 5 years ago, um paid sponsorship content almost wasn't a thing back then.
No, like I remember, I viscerally remember when like if you put like a sponsor in your video, like you would get torn to shreds in the comments. Like
Yeah.
it was like unacceptable. Like people were like, "What? You're making me watch? You're making me air quotes making me watch a 30-second segment of you sponsoring, I don't know, Raid Shadow Legends, but that wasn't around back then.
Yeah,
But you
no,
know what I
no.
mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like it was unthinkable back then, but now it's
Yeah.
like, haha, Raid Shadow Legends, man. There's the funny thing with the video now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that's the thing.
In a way, it's almost become a meme.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah,
But yeah, no,
like
and I agree with you. Back then, again, 5 years ago, if you had like paid sponsorship and stuff, well, that was great for you as a creator because you were getting some recognition.
mhm,
Like people's communities would rip them apart for
yeah,
having that because they would like call them sellouts and stuff.
no,
But
yeah, but like
nowadays, it's more like having paid sponsorship is more of an inconvenience than anything.
I would call it a necessary evil because these people are taking these sponsorships because they know they're not getting the same money they would have gotten 5 years ago from
Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh, 100%. YouTube is not like I don't think people realize you are not earning a lot of money from the YouTube videos in themselves. You
No,
are relying on the viewership and the ad space.
viewer retention, ad space, all those kinds of things. It's not
Yeah.
just views. It's about it's so much more complicated than just like, oh, you got a million views on every video, you've got to be a millionaire, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like
No.
it's not like $1 per view.
Mm-mm.
It's first you have to become like a verified channel, which
Yep.
takes its own time in itself, but I mean, then there are just like how much you have to negotiate with YouTube on your sponsorships, and then if assuming you survive like the adpocalypse landscape, um, then you start making a little bit of money. But I remember hearing one content creator talk about how they got like 50,000 views on a video, and the money they made off that video was like $64.
Yeah, honestly.
And I'm just like, you got tens of thousands of people watching one video you made, but you don't even break $100 on that video.
Yeah, honestly, like it's wild.
Yeah, it
It,
really
it,
is.
like you let's think about it this way. If you got like let's say 100,000 views for like 100,000 people watch a single episode of, let's say, like, I don't know, like a new like Survivor, that would be
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like that would be pretty good. But 100 people of their own volition watching a whole video, that should be so much more. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like I remember like again the internet landscape has changed going back to that because it's no longer when we first started, I would argue the internet, it was a lot of like, oh, check out these fail videos, check out these quick laughs, like almost essentially like YouTube back in the day was essentially almost what Vine was for a little while.
No, yeah, like
They were
one,
very quick videos that people could just watch.
yeah, 1 to 2 minute videos of people just doing skits, parodies, stuff like that. They were not, it was very weird for like a video to be like more than 5 minutes long,
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
opinion. Like, that's why I think like now that's another thing actually, but it kind of ties into like your point about everything has to do with sponsorship and stuff like that, advertisements. A lot of people are doing 10-minute videos now because of the fact that that's just the best way to get views. Like,
yeah. No, and I think like I remember some content creators talking about how like the golden ratio of videos now is like 15 to 20 minutes, maybe half an hour pushing it. Because people
mm,
don't want to watch stuff for that long anymore. Like back in the day when Let's Plays first started getting popular for us, those Let's Plays would be like an hour or two long
yeah,
because that's what people would upload. And,
seriously.
and they were hardly edited too. Like there was barely any editing on them.
No, yeah, literally just like a blind run, like to use today's terminology,
Yeah.
blind run, 100%. You would just like, and you would just like watch this person like figure the game out as they were doing it, but people don't really want to watch it anymore.
Right. And
Like,
it's like I found myself like looking at videos of like an hour playthrough nowadays, like someone uploaded it nowadays, and it didn't have many views, and I'm like, wow, back then I totally would have watched this,
No,
but
like yeah.
now I definitely don't want to, because it's like I'd rather watch a 20-minute video than watch an hour long video, and it could have quality content, it really can, but my mind, I just don't want to dedicate the time to watch it. Which is, I
Yeah.
mean, in a way ironic because of how we record our podcast, and then also how I
Yeah.
actually like, I will sit down and listen and or watch a podcast that's 1 hour, 2 hour, even 3 hour long podcasts.
Yeah.
But I mean, that can be its own topic in itself one of these days. But to keep it short, yeah, that's what was wild to me about that. I don't know. That was incredible in my
Mhm.
head. And then let's see. It's like um I don't know, just thinking about it, like back then again there was no sponsorships. There were very long videos, but nowadays it's like nowadays
Also,
none of that content really survives.
also Patreon has become a huge, part of,
Patreon,
you know,
yeah, no, Patreon, Twitch, in a way, like
mm,
that's another thing. YouTube is no longer the dominant landscape anymore. That's what I was gonna say.
absolutely. No, yeah.
Twitch is definitely giving YouTube a run for its money in that sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like that's more if you really want to be on a bigger scale. That's Google versus Amazon.
Yeah,
But
honestly.
I mean, they still are run by their own company. Like they're still run by their own thing. Run by they're not run directly by Amazon, or they're not run directly by Google.
Yeah.
Like they still have their own hierarchy within all of that.
Hmm.
But like those two companies, like Twitch, when Twitch came on the scene, hardly anyone used Twitch. Like I remember back in early high school when Twitch was a thing and not many people were using it. But
No,
now
yeah.
you look at Twitch and it's like anyone's trying to become a Twitch streamer, or anyone's trying to become a YouTuber, which I mean, there's no problem with that. It's just it's a lot harder of a landscape, I'd say, to break into now.
No, yeah. Twitch is like, I completely agree. Like when I was like in high school, no one was talking about Twitch.
No.
Like, like, it was very much a niche thing. But like now, like, especially if like you're like within the like video game spirit, like Twitch is almost like it's
Yeah.
indispensable.
Well,
Like,
Twitch definitely started as gaming,
yeah.
and I remember watching a who was it? I'm trying to remember which content creator it was. I don't think I actually subscribed to them or anything. I just saw a video by them
Hmm.
where they were talking about how like Twitch kind of became this like sanctum for YouTube gamers, because like YouTube was like, and this is tying into something from MatPat actually, when
Hmm.
he was talking about how YouTube kind of screwed over gaming content and favored other companies, or
Yeah.
other content creators. That's a better way to put
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, he like the person was kind of responding to that in a way. I guess they mentioned it. I wish I remember which video it was, but
Was it Critical? Was that the name of the
maybe
guy?
maybe I don't remember honestly. But
Okay.
they were talking about how like how Twitch became this like little safe haven for gamers, because like since YouTube wasn't giving them their, like I would say, proper recognition, I guess is the best way to put it, for lack of a better term. They
No,
came to
yeah.
Twitch to support each other and like say, hey, we're still here. We're just not doing it over there on YouTube anymore. And then from there, Twitch started out solely for gaming, but then over the years it's grown and has become way more than even that.
No, yeah. I mean, I would definitely say Twitch is like much more in tune with gamers than YouTube is. YouTube has definitely ostracized
Yeah. And I
the
mean,
gaming community in my opinion, because
yeah.
like when you look at how like yeah, you see the gameplays, you see the let's plays and stuff like that, but like apart from that, what are people really trying to do to like push gaming on YouTube? Not much. Like they did
Yeah.
have that YouTube gaming thing, but like no, that never really took off. And
Yeah.
it just shows the lack of awareness from YouTube as a company to see like how such a big part of what, especially what used to be really big on YouTube, YouTube, like has really fallen.
Yeah, and I mean it's like they're the biggest YouTuber, and I'm gonna say YouTuber, not channel in this case, and I'll
Mhm.
discuss that in a little bit. Was PewDiePie, and like
Mhm.
he is the literal definition of YouTube 1%. I would have to say
Oh yeah.
because of how much stuff he's gotten away with. Oh yeah.
Mm,
Um, but again, that's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna get into that
oh,
right now.
okay,
Um,
okay.
like he is still like the. I guess you could argue he is the face of gaming, but even now,
Hmm.
like he's only known, I would say, within the YouTube gaming community, and he gets recognition when he does something outside of gaming. That's
Yeah.
another thing, and like this is from my own personal observation. I'm not saying like there are statistics on this and stuff, but I feel like if we dug and looked around through some statistics, we could probably find something. But again, I digress. But
Yeah.
like that to me was like him, Matt Pat, and maybe a couple others, I would say represented the gaming community. And it wasn't a lot considering how big the gaming community really is, especially on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I would argue that the gaming community helped way more than other channels to help than other like I guess sections. Is that the
No,
best
yeah.
way to put it? Again, lack of a better term.
Like
Uh,
categories of content, basically,
yeah,
like
yeah,
basic
there we go. Yeah.
channels, yeah, food
That
channels, stuff
helped
like
to
that.
grow
Yeah.
YouTube more than any other in my opinion.
Absolutely. That's actually something I want to touch upon. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I was trying to get at, is that like gaming was what really kind of propelled YouTube to what it was. Like it's kind of undeniable that gaming like it was all right. When YouTube first started out, it was gaming, skits, and then maybe someone uploaded like a video of like a dash cam from Russia crashing into a truck or something like that.
Yeah, there were
Like
definitely a lot of skate fail videos. I remember those
yeah,
too.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that.
fail videos, stuff like that, pranks, but like it was never like it wasn't like 75% of the stuff you see on YouTube now.
Yeah. It was none of that. And I'm not saying like obviously YouTube needed to adapt and change, which is why we're talking about this whole thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
I don't think they needed to reject the gaming community either.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
like
yeah.
I don't know. It feels like YouTube tries to hold up the image in my head that they were helping, that they still like the gaming community and everything. But it
Yeah.
feels like 9 out of 10 times it's more gaming stuff that gets screwed.
No, it's for me, it's kind of it really is the cosmetics. Like I mentioned before, of like
Yeah.
YouTube gaming, it was an attempt to show that they wanted to show that they cared,
Yeah.
but they weren't really trying to do anything to actually help content creators that were creating gaming
Yeah.
content.
And I mean, it's like, and the community has called them out time and time again. And, they still haven't really done anything to, I would say, correct stuff.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But back to Twitch then, I mean, it's like Twitch only recently opened up to other content creation because, again, it was originally just gaming.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's definitely more to it than just gaming. But it's still very heavily gaming dominated, which is
No,
why
yeah.
they pander to the gaming audience. And I feel like I see more and more people leaving. I don't want to say leaving YouTube, but more preferring Twitch to YouTube right now, because it's like it feels. And trust me, Twitch is not without its controversies and problems.
Oh no. Absolutely.
But people are feeling more comfortable to go to Twitch, at least in terms of gaming, than anything else.
No, totally. That's a hard agree for me.
Yeah.
Like I know for some people they'll actually do like draw-alongs where they actually like stream their like drawing process and stuff like that, artists creating like art and stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it is sort of kind of opening it up, and that's the kind of exciting thing to see. Is like, could Twitch possibly open up a new sort of genre of live content creation that might take away from other facets of YouTube apart from gaming? That's kind of interesting as well.
I mean, I guess only time will tell. The interesting part is that the internet is still just massively evolving right now with COVID around.
Hmm.
Because, like, you could argue, and I'm not saying this is 100% true or anything, but you could argue that content creators aren't too affected really because their content was already online, so they can adapt their stuff online. Sure, they've had to change maybe a couple series here and there,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they can still make their stuff no problem. for the most part. Again, I'm only speaking from like what I've seen of the internet. There could be other parts or other communities who are totally suffering right now, because of COVID and everything.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously there are people that have been, affected and they've had to completely revamp their content, but that's the thing, right? It's like I feel like, content creators on YouTube or Twitch have been the ones that have been able to adapt the most because they
Yeah.
were already in the situation where like they already had tools to make this content creation from home and from anywhere they really need to anyways.
Yeah, 100% agree. But on top of that, it's just like another thing I did want to bring up actually, thinking about it. Um, I wanted to touch upon this earlier. Uh, like I was talking about how it's no longer it's not as easy for people to do it to just break into the internet game anymore. But
Yeah.
on top of that, you now are it's no longer uh it's it's no longer just people who are making it, it's companies.
Mm.
And that was the thing. I mean, early YouTube, everyone was okay with like Vivo, Fueled by Ramen, all those music studios because they were bringing out music videos, and music wasn't as big as it was back then as it is now on YouTube. And even then,
Yeah.
you could argue it's not that big. Like, not just saying like they don't get tons and tons of views. It's just more that like people aren't dedicating an entire community to watching like those Vivo videos, the Fueled by Ramen videos, stuff like that. They're just more like, oh, here's the latest song, here's the music video, go check it out here.
Yeah.
Um, but besides that, you now have companies who are like throwing their own hats into the ring on like making their own like game content and everything. They're like completely behind this one streamer, or they're like completely making their own channels. So going back to PewDiePie real quick, I actually was, in a way, I would say I was indirectly supporting, hoping. Remember when it was like PewDiePie versus what was their name?
T series.
Yeah, thank you. I
Yeah.
I honestly forgot about that as soon as that ended. When that was feuding together, I honestly wanted PewDiePie to stay on top. As much as I don't
Hmm.
like the guy,
Yeah.
I wanted that to stay on top because I was like, he's still a representation of the solo creator doing this themselves to the solo creator who made themselves famous on YouTube versus a company who's now taking all the views. And now it's like you can argue there's this weird argument on YouTube now where it's like there is no competition because unlike on
Mm.
TV, you can go watch a channel's content and then go to another channel's content and still watch that. Like, you don't have to favor one or the other. You can subscribe
No,
to
yeah.
both. You can check them out either one at any time.
Hmm.
And that's not to talk about YouTube drama, which is its own thing that I wanted to cover later. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I was looking at. And it's like you have these companies who are then like in a way really trying to put themselves into the YouTube game. And I'm not just saying just gaming. I'm saying like overall in the YouTube landscape.
No, yeah.
And then the other thing that kind of bothered me, and I'm gonna put this in the same category, solely because of resources and credibility. Celebrities are now coming into the YouTube game, and it makes it even harder for now people who are like on the smaller end to get through
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah, to touch upon that, it was really interesting for me to see, I remember when we first started the podcast, I was mentioning how, professional athletes are starting to stream and stuff like that.
Right,
And
right.
it's interesting that you brought up the idea of, no competition, because while I agree with the idea of like YouTube, it's much different for people who are much more engaged with streaming because they are actively taking away time from people that tune in specifically to certain times to watch content creators that are known for creating like content at that certain time or for that game, let's say, especially on Twitch, let's say. So I mean, I would say the no competition thing is much more prevalent to YouTube, but for Twitch, there is a very real sort of like consequence to that, I think.
Oh yeah, very much so. And
Yeah.
then for me though, I would argue it depends on which celebrity is doing it too.
Hmm.
Because like I remember if I had to say who kind of started, I don't know. I'm not going to say they started it all. Not going to say that. But they were definitely a big name when they splashed into it.
Hmm.
When Jack Black did it, honestly, I had no problem with it whatsoever
Yeah.
because like Jack Black had already been in video games. He had helped to produce some video games, and I'm like, you know what? If any celebrity is going to do it, that's the right one to put their foot in and everything because they're already so in touch with the gaming community.
Yeah.
So to me, that was no problem. But now it's like when Will Smith started doing it, you saw people ripped him apart.
Yeah. Uh, that was brutal, honestly.
Yeah. Um.
Has not been a good year for Will Smith, by the way. I'll just say
No,
that.
no, it is not. No. Again, that's a
Uh,
whole nother video right there.
that honestly, that's more of like an E channel kind of like thing to talk about. But honestly, yeah,
Yeah. But like when he came in, I remember he got ripped shreds. Then there was the YouTube Rewind, that was like the worst rewind in YouTube Rewind history. And
yeah,
then on top of that, like people have just not wanted to see Will Smith. And I mean,
yeah,
he's been on other content creator platforms and stuff too. But
Mhm.
it's like when that celebrity dropped, no one wanted to touch his content essentially. Minus like
yeah,
obviously I would say his like very true fan base to him, but even then it's like no one wanted it, and it's like and I remember a lot of content creators talking about it at the time was like they don't need celebrities coming in, and I know this sounds a little gatekeepy, but in the terms of the context, they're like we started this with like maybe $100 in our pockets trying to work on a budget. Now we have
hmm
the celebrity coming in, and then we now still have to consider making content that now has to outmatch a celebrity who already has um, so much of a fan base behind them.
yeah.
So it's like, it's wild to me in that sense how much YouTube is also keeping up and changing. And it's like
No, yeah,
that's just the internet in general. And now the latest one is no. Before I say the latest one, actually I'm thinking back to Conan O'Brien. Do you remember his gaming channel that he
yeah,
did?
yeah. I remember he actually had a section, I think, on his actual live show
Yeah,
where he played video games
yeah.
with like
He had
one of
it
his
on his
staff.
live show, and I think he just turned it into a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you know, to me, I didn't find that as much of a problem when it happened. I don't know, because to me it was like Conan O'Brien. A, he'd already been talking with the gaming community.
hmm
B, he like it was kind of, it was very funny and very entertaining to watch because it was essentially this guy who knew nothing about video games. He's like, hey,
hmm
I'm gonna try and break in and connect with the video game community. So it's like I remember I think he met the creators of Mortal Kombat at one point, and he
Yeah.
did a video on that, and then he was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So like to me that was pretty funny, and you got to check that out. But
No, honestly,
I don't know. It was just it was like I was a little bit more okay with that, especially because he was still sticking to more of his like he wasn't full time YouTube or anything. He was just sticking to his usual or his usual on TV stuff.
yeah.
So I never had that much of a problem, but and I in a way I say that as like it's kind of a weird double standard, but it's like to me the fact that he made the effort to connect to the gaming community at all,
hmm
like he's in Death Stranding too because he talked with Hideo Kojima and he got his own role in it too. To me that was pretty cool. It's like
No,
okay, he's here in the gaming community, but he's not trying to take it over or anything, which I guess is a one way to look at it. Like again, lack of a better term.
no, yeah, like I totally feel you. Like I can understand like that fear of like, companies and like celebrities coming in and like taking over like the resources and like taking away that sort of platform from other creators, especially the ones that have like literally had to build up from nothing. But it is nice when people like Conan O'Brien like actively engage with the community and are respectful of it. They're actually like trying to learn more about it and not trying to actually like alienate people that are part of it. And
Yeah,
then eventually they make just that transition into actually being a part of it. I think
yeah, yeah.
that's a good example.
Yeah, like to me, at least in my head, it was like, okay, that's a celebrity doing it right. And again, I know that sounds a bit gatekeepy, but it's like you have to understand the point of which they're talking about it too, because it's like there's so much that like they've been playing this game or they've been playing quote unquote the game for like a decade now, and then suddenly this celebrity can come in and get the exact same amount of viewers or subscribers they had right now without really even lifting a finger. So I mean, but the latest quote unquote no, the latest person to do this was Brie Larson, and then now you see her getting ripped to shreds as well for
Yeah,
just
what
making her own YouTube channel. And it's like, I don't find it warranted to say that it's fair to like rip her apart on YouTube, because I've checked out some of her content and it's fine. Like it's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing like over the top, I would say. It's just kind of her own channel. And most of her hate is like the usual hate she gets in like her films and other stuff anyway. So I
okay.
didn't find too much of an issue with it, but I'm like, I understand still the anger of like people saying, why are celebrities coming here? You guys kind of have already your own world we can't even touch. Why come in
Yeah.
here and like kind of mess up the world we currently have, where it's like we were fine to make our stuff and be popular here, but now you suddenly have to like push in your popularity here. So it's like it's never gonna be. I feel like it's never gonna be like truly okay for celebrities to just kind of move into the YouTube slash like content creation landscape. They'll still do it fine anyway, but it's like it's going to be a rough acceptance of it more than anything.
No, yeah. Like I would say it's also dependent on like the effort they put into it. Like it's
Yeah.
not like a celebrity just comes in, they automatically expect people to like, fawn over, oh, I don't know, fuck, like The Undertaker is playing freaking Animal Crossing or some shit like that. Like like
I would love
like
to see that in itself. Don't get
like
me
yeah,
wrong, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
no, yeah, it shouldn't be something like that. Like I think they should recognize that there is a certain level of effort and like a standard that you should still kind of try to achieve. Like it's that kind of idea of like it's like respect is earned, not given.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I feel like they should understand that like you shouldn't come into it expecting that people are just gonna completely gush over like, oh, the celebrity is playing a game or the celebrity is like
yeah, yeah.
like looking at this. Like yeah,
And again, I get celebrities are human, celebrities are people too, but it's like
absolutely, yeah.
they have to understand their own weight they carry with them too coming into this. And like the thing is, the other thing that content creators get angry about, and I had to kind of agree with this as much as I want to give celebrities the benefit of the doubt. YouTube kind of gives them like already this silver spoon in their mouth when they come
Hmm.
in, because it's like you've seen the plaques for YouTube. It's like, oh, here's your reward for getting 100,000 subscribers. Here's your reward for getting 1 million subscribers, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like you had these people who are working so long and so hard to do this. And again, once these celebrities come in, they already come in with their fan base. So it's like literally they can in less than a week they have more than 1 million subscribers. So
Yeah.
it's like, what does that mean for all these people who already had to have it made?
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing on top of that, I remember, it was a YouTube channel I follow, Alex Myers. It was in during one of his live streams. I've shown you Alex Myers.
Yeah.
Go check out his channel. Love it. Recommend it highly about how he rips on Disney movies and other rom coms and stuff. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
He was talking about how back in the day, celebrities would actually rip on YouTube creators and content creators like that, saying like they weren't really that famous or anything, or they were internet famous. Was almost like it was almost like a trashy fame in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But
I
now it's like they suddenly want to be famous here on the internet and YouTube and stuff like that too. And it's like, wait, you can't just suddenly say, "Oh, it's bad to be famous here," and then now want to come into this space.
No, yeah, that's still a very prevalent dialogue within, that sort of like intermarried between like internet famous and like traditional media famous is like this idea that like if you got famous on the internet, it's like it's almost like a fake celebrity status in a way for a lot of people because it's like you exist on a platform that a lot of people feel like isn't actually tangible. When in reality, like if you're famous because of a TV show, that's also not really like reality. That's a
Yeah,
produced like that's a production. Like you're literally watching like a production that was made in the studio or in a studio setting.
yeah,
So
and
to me, it really doesn't make sense to think that like someone that's like recording like a video from their home is any less of a celebrity than someone who's like going out to like a studio to record something for like a professional like production. Like that just doesn't really make sense to me.
yeah, no, I 100% agree. And then on top of that, it's Like you can arguably you get real arguably I'm gonna add that on there.
Mm-hmm.
You get realer people from internet creators than you do from TV celebrities or
Mm-hmm.
movie celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, it's like you have them criticize YouTube content creators and quote unquote influencers who try to break into the movie industry or TV industry, and then they completely rip them apart and break them down.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. Just to like, I remember there was that episode of like CSI or whatever, and like
Yeah.
Justin
Oh
Bieber
yeah,
was
yeah,
on
yeah.
it.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking of, honestly.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. I feel like a lot of people forget about this, but Justin Bieber originally was essentially a product of YouTube.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah,
And that's not to say that there aren't YouTube stars who haven't gone on to make it big in other industries.
yeah,
Like YouTube helped find some industries or some not industries, some industry players. Like that goes without saying. Again, the music industry wouldn't be as
uh,
big as it is right now without YouTube, but even then it's like they still rip on this internet fame.
yeah.
So it's like you to me it doesn't make sense. It's like you can't have one without the other nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the anger of content creators when the celebrities now come in and they're like, "Wait, why are you suddenly trying to enter a space you guys were criticizing us for beforehand?"
Seriously, like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
It's just not tangible.
And then again, going back to like Conan O'Brien and Jack Black, it made sense to me that they came in. Like they were friendly with the communities they wanted to reach out to. They hadn't really criticized or anything. They were just doing their own thing. And I'm like, you know what? That's what the internet is about.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, an internet is a medium for sharing information in a way that's like wouldn't have been possible like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So like we have to remember that that's a huge part of it still. So there's no reason to have all this gatekeeping or like not to say gatekeeping, but like any of this like hostility towards like people that are like creating themselves on the internet. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And it's like again, like you said, you can't have it both ways. You can't suddenly like rip on the internet celebs one day and then suddenly want to make your own YouTube channel the next, being a celebrity as you are.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. It has no merit to me at all. So and it's like and it almost in a way it feels like going back to the music industry real quick. It feels like music YouTube, like the YouTube videos and stuff. Again, Vivo, Fueled by Ramen, all those studios and stuff are like different from being an actual content creator because it's more like, hey, here are the music videos. That's it. This isn't like in a way it's almost not the artist's channel.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Especially with like Vivo. Very
Yeah.
few artists actually have that much control over their Vivo channels
Yeah.
as people would expect. It's very much like a Vivo thing where they like put their invisible hand over like the
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
like profits and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, I mean, that's its own thing. But one more thing I did actually want to cover before we wrap up today
Mhm.
was something I would argue we didn't see very often. Again, maybe even 5 years ago. I would give it a little bit longer. Let's say 7 years ago.
Mm.
There was not as much quote unquote internet drama as there is nowadays.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
Like I
Oh no.
remember back in the day, it was much more common to see a collab or like friendly competition between channels than it definitely was to see rivalries or like this drama between everyone.
No.
And
Yeah.
how real or fake that drama really is completely up to the content creators and it could be real, it could be fake. No one really knows anymore.
Yeah, it's very hard to gauge when, controversy is manufactured as opposed to genuine.
Yeah.
Especially when you take in consideration that there are channels that are like completely built upon controversy, and
Yeah,
like
very much so.
that's where they get most of their attention from. So again, it's hard to say honestly.
Yeah, and it's like again, it wasn't something you truly saw back in the day either.
Mm-mm.
Because like back then you would see if there was drama, most of it I would argue was internalized or like people didn't really go out on the internet and call others out for it. At least not back then. Nowadays, it's definitely way more prevalent in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's like what can you really do about that?
No, I remember specifically in high school, I was definitely one of those people who watched like drama videos, like
Mm-hmm.
those videos detailing like drama between YouTubers. And I kind of grew out of that before I left high school because I realized that this is fucking stupid. Like,
Oh yeah,
like this is moronic. Like you either watch the content creator you like or you don't.
yeah,
Like if they get exposed for being a bad person, okay, I'll just unsubscribe. I don't really care anymore. Like you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it just doesn't make sense to like follow that kind of like logic anymore. Like, oh, like this YouTuber got in trouble for like stealing a donut or something. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
like it just doesn't make sense.
yeah. And it's like, I mean, there is also just shock factor stuff nowadays, which I'm honestly tired of. Like, people will do outrageous things just to get the views,
No,
and
yeah,
then it's like they will remain on YouTube and their videos, and like once again going back kind of to the YouTube 1%. They'll do this outrageous thing and we've seen multiple creators do this, and then not get punished for it whatsoever.
Logan Paul. Sorry, what?
But I mean, it's like it's wild in that case, and it's like every single community. That's not to say drama and problems won't naturally occur. That's
No, yeah,
inevitable. That's going to happen. It's going to keep happening, but it's now the fact that people essentially make a business off of it outside of TV and reality TV shows
yeah,
is where like things have changed. So I don't know. It's like for me, like, and then it's even worse in my head when like let's say a channel has a falling out within, like, let's say it's a team of content creators on one channel and they have a falling out, and then they drag the community into it.
no,
At that
yeah,
point, it's like, why divide the community? It doesn't make sense to me. And it's like, maybe one of you was wronged, or one of you, and you want to let your community know. That's fine. But when you're actively like trying to break up the community, there's no point in that.
no.
So I really don't know what to say anymore at that. Because it's like, at that point, no one wins.
No.
Especially if at the end of the day it's like, oh, lol, we're back together again. Everything's fine. It's like, then what was the entire point of all of this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, that's just kind of my like rant, and maybe it's like, maybe that's my old man yells at clouds thing,
Yeah.
and maybe like people aren't bothered by it, and I'm making a bigger deal out of it than it is for some people. But I mean, that's just my thoughts, really. And like that's really how the internet landscape has changed, and there's still more that has changed that we haven't even covered.
Oh yeah.
But
Definitely.
like, again, we can make another episode out of this, but that's pretty much all my thoughts on it right now. So I'd say I don't know. The internet's a weirder place. It's definitely way more harmful nowadays, also, than it was back in the day. But again, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
So yeah. But if thank you guys so much for sticking around for this and to listening to our like kind of rant on the internet about it, and in a weird way kind of feeding into like the system of what we were talking about. But yeah, if you guys have stories or things of like how you've seen the internet change, please leave it in the comments below. The classic that was another thing. Real quick, just the classic YouTube jokes slash meme now of make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That's definitely
Yeah.
not something that was there back in the day when we were watching growing up and
No,
stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, guys, please, like, to feed into the meme, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the support, and thank you guys so much again for sticking around. We'll have the next episode up. Who knows when? Because it's unscheduled. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you all next time.
See ya.
Bye.